At the last turn of the campaign, I've completed all of the conditions for the military victory. So let's go ahead and end the turn. See what happens.
The way is blocked.
I'm up here in the Britannia at the moment. That's what the map's showing. So if you've seen my videos, you'd seen earlier that I had put a video where I had decided to restart the campaign from the beginning, but thanks to the comments left by people, I kept going, and here is the final turn. So there's a few things that what's going on here is the Iceni are just going to kill some rebels for me. Alright. There was a few things that kind of accelerated my campaign. I might add that this is turn 312. It's a very long campaign for me, but partly that was because for the first couple of 100 turns or so, I was not considering victory conditions at all. I was just expanding any way that I wanted to, just exploring the map, and so it wasn't until about 100 turns ago that I really just started looking at the victory conditions and saying what's the quickest way to victory, which as it turned out was the military victory. And so one of the things that sped up for me the whole campaign was realising that mercenaries have a huge cost, and if you'd seen my videos, about half my army were mercenaries. And I was struggling to build buildings or expand or whatever, and when I ditched all the mercenaries,
there's a time when warriors must sheath the sword
things
and
went a lot better.
For the good of their people.
These Helvetii are sieging a city in Aquitania. It's an important city for the victory. At the same time, they're willing to pay for a peace treaty. So they're willing to pay me to stop sieging my city, but I don't really care right now. They're not going to take the city in this turn. And they did take another city from me and I wanted to take it back, but it seems I don't have to. There's a number of small nations that sprung out of nowhere near the end of the game. And now I seem to get some interesting, cool video at the end. Hopefully this is what the game will look like later when we're actually playing it. I guess they're on the way. This is how it should look. So the other thing that I figured out how to do was client states, and basically when you're at war with a faction and they're willing to and they come up and they say, oh, we want peace, well, you can always throw in another condition, and it can still be quite high that they'll accept it, so either being money or being a client state. And I did gain a number of client states near the end of this campaign as a result. Indeed, I gained Britannia as a client state using that method. Just taking one of their cities and a little bit more fighting, and then, oh, you want peace? Well, you have to become a client state. So that worked for me. There's a bunch of stats here. 313 turns. Yeah, I don't know how I did it. Factions encountered 54, factions destroyed 11, so on and so forth. Economy 6.9 million talents, and then you could probably see these if you're interested by pausing the video later. 307 battles fought. Battles fought personally, 131. I did start auto-resolving quite a lot during the end of this campaign. In fact, almost all the battles were auto-resolved. There was one or two where I knew I was going to lose, but I wanted to inflict maximum damage, so I didn't auto-resolve those ones. But you know, mostly it's just auto-resolving around the end of this campaign. And if I continued the fight, if I were to continue the campaign, that's what it would be. It'd be a lot of auto-resolving. I'd definitely be able to conquer the rest of the map. So you know, just if we do click continue, click through some of these things here, we can get to the overview here. So this is kind of how it ended up. I think the diplomatic status shows a bit better. As you can see, the Gallic Confederation, which actually joined with the Atrebates, it changed its symbol into the Atrebates symbol, and sort of they all confederated. Well, they eventually became our client state, and there were these little you know, Namnates, and the Nervii even were only one city for a little while, but they started taking a couple of cities more. And even my own client state from a long time ago, the Brookie, you know, it was quite kind of funny. They came all the way down to Mesopotamia, and started taking cities down here. I mean, they lost them again, but they I don't know what they were doing, but they were trying to expand. Suddenly they had like the elixir of life, and they just took off, and a number of little things like that happened. Royal Scythia, so how you say that, Scythia? They were just one city for a while, but then they started taking a lot, and they just, as well, they wouldn't negotiate with me at all. It was kind of interesting. There was one faction that just simply wouldn't negotiate in any way from a diplomatic point of view. Yep. So that's kind of how it ended up. Public order. The other thing that I figured out halfway through the campaign was things like the political aspect of the game, and that helped to get out of having very little influence and negative, morale and all this kind of thing, to working that back to getting decent influence. I didn't get a civil war. I think I was keeping all of that in check eventually. So that's the end of the grand campaign.